Hello and welcome to Stephen Speak, the podcast. On this week, we will be talking about booze and boozing it up and boozy stories. Not that I'm promoting ill behaviour in any way. I just wanted to go through what I was like as a younger man and what's changed. So yeah, let's speak about that. Welcome to Stephen Speak, the podcast. Unscripted prattle on everything and nothing. Welcome. I hope you're all well. Thank you for listening. If you're new to the show, welcome. If you're not new to the show and you're used to hearing me prattle on, congratulations for tuning into another show. Thank you very much as well. Today's show is going to be about alcohol, booze, as we call it in the UK. I presume that's like kind of a UK thing. I don't think they use that term in America or elsewhere. Maybe they do. Maybe they do in Australia. I don't know. Don't know why I thought Australia. Probably because there's a lot of expats there. Anyway, I asked Sarah for some ideas about what I could talk about today, and she suggested a couple of good subjects, actually, but I'm not doing either of them that she suggested because when I sit down, something normally springs to mind myself, so I decided to go on my own direction, because she said, like, is there anything you've been talking about this week, or has anything happened? And I was thinking, as I was about to press record, I was like, oh, actually, yes, it has, and that is the subject of alcohol, and the fact that I hardly ever consume anymore, to be honest. I might have the odd beer here and there, but generally it's not something that I'm that bothered about anymore. And I'm okay with that. And anyone that doesn't drink should be okay with it. It's quite a lot of peer pressure in society, and especially when you're younger as well, it is deemed as like a thing that you do. You go out and get drunk. It's quite a thing in Britain to go out when you're younger, when you're below the age of legal requirement for consuming alcohol. It's a thing to, go out with your mates and get drunk and try and return home and not have your parents notice. For me, that wasn't really the case. I was always too young looking to sneak into pubs or nightclubs or anything like that as a kid, and even more so to try and buy it from a local shop. So it's only something I probably did once, and I felt really guilty about it, basically. Anyway, come back to that. But yeah, so I have drank alcohol, and I've been in many sticky situations from it. Not really, really, really bad, but alcohol, and I'm not a doctor, so don't take anything I say as like medical or anything like that. I'm just going off pure personal experience. Alcohol, changes your mindset. It can cheer you up. It can bring you down. It can make you do things that you wouldn't normally do, like release your inhibitions a little bit. Yes, it's one of them things that people can get addicted to it. And I think even though like alcoholism is a thing, it's also one of them things in society. It used to be kind of like smoking, where everyone knew it was bad for you, but everyone still did it. And I don't know if the price of alcohol is going to change this, as it went the same way with like cigarettes and cigars and tobacco in general. But yeah, it's always been a thing where, it's kind of just been broadly accepted. But people get into a right shit state with alcohol. Like, let's face it, fights, A&E admissions, people just not knowing their limits. And I've been quite lucky in my time that I've known a limit. I reached it on my 19th birthday, which I think I touched on the podcast. I think I have touched on this on the podcast. So forgive me if I go over any old ground, but I feel like this is more of a thorough, in-depth look into my probably borderline alcoholism when I was like 19, 20. There you go, bombshell there. Wasn't really a borderline alcoholic. I just was probably drinking far too much. Let's say it. I've just ruined that bombshell straight away. Yeah, so going back to when I was a kid, like my mum and dad used to let me have the odd beer. When you're a kid, you don't really like the taste of beer though. Like, it's a weird flavour, and it's something It's weird because I don't really know the point that I was okay with the taste of beer. I think my dad let me try his beer. I think when I was like 10 or 11, and it was just disgusting. I tried a bit of Guinness once in Ireland, and that was disgusting. And it's something to do with puberty, I swear, that it must just change your taste buds and you're okay suddenly with lager and beer. I don't know. Spirits are a little bit of another way with it. But the reason I was talking about this today as well, by the way, I don't even finish that, but I was talking about this with someone this week about, kind of how much I used to be able to drink as a younger man, and the amount of times I go out, and I'm not bothered about that anymore. If I go out for a drink, it's just a socialised thing. It's a social thing for me. It's to see people under that guise, where it used to be, yeah, you'd be with your mates, but it was the kind of like the goal of the night was to get drunk as well. So, but yeah, as a youngster, like I didn't like the taste of beer, and then it got to a point where it's about like 14, 15, where I didn't mind the taste of beer. My dad used to always buy them little stubby French branded beers from the supermarket. You get like 30 or something in a box for like £8. And it was really low alcohol. It was like, I don't know, like 1.5%, 2%. It was like more like shandy, really, like like lemonade and lager. I don't know why I explained what shandy was. Well, unless you don't know what shandy is, like maybe that's a British thing as well. I'm sure it isn't. But it was really weak, basically, and he used to let me have one of them sometimes if we were having a barbecue or like a house party or something. I was probably allowed like one, maybe two at a push if I wasn't already hyperactive. So, yeah, he used to limit my intake of them, but it was that weak anyway. It probably wasn't much stronger than shandy, really. Well, it was, but it still was piss weak. And that's kind of like the introduction. So probably like thinking of it, the introduction to probably getting used to the taste of it is probably diluted, being weaned onto it, I suppose. So cheers, Dad. But yeah, I didn't do the whole. A lot of my mates used to go out sometimes to pubs because, especially the girls, they always looked older than the lads. So the lads normally used to get someone to buy them some beer and go find a field somewhere or go around someone's house and get drunk. I never did that, and I think the only time I did it, I was probably actually 16, and my bad influence friend Louise, who I still know now, so if she listens to this episode, she'll probably remember this. And my mate Neil and his girlfriend at the time, Claire, we basically obtained some beer. I think the girls went and bought it because they both looked older than me and Neil. And I can't remember what we bought now. I know it was like McEwen's Lager, which I don't think he'd even get anymore. I know there was like that's what me and Neil were going to have. And I think they bought maybe some like a small bottle of wine and a small bottle of Baileys, I think, which is like the Baileys is like an Irish liqueur with brandy in it. I'm pretty sure that's what they had. And we went not even that far away, just down the road to a field where there was a play park, and we literally sat there on a summer's evening and we drank the beers, and I was absolutely petrified that a police car was going to go past because I was such a goody two shoes, and I was trying to get in the army. I knew that's what I wanted to do. I didn't want to get a criminal record, and I was pretty scared. So I pretty much necked the beers probably as fast as I could. I had a few swigs of Baileys, and yeah, I think the only reason we left, I think it got rainy, and I think that's the reason we left. But I was petrified walking along with this alcohol that we were going to get bloody stopped and arrested and searched and arrested and stuff like that, or worse, taken back to our parents, which would have happened anyway because we were minors. But yeah, so that was my like pre-18 drinking experience, and apart from any freebies off my dad in a controlled environment, I never really drank beer. So turning 18 for me was quite a groundbreaking occasion because, one, I looked a bit older. I'd gone through a bit of puberty and looked semi-manly, I would say. More like a young man. And not like I looked like a young girl. You know what I mean? I just looked a bit more mature. When I was 18, I probably looked about 12. So, So yeah, turning 18 was a big thing for me because I could go drinking legally, which some of my friends have been doing for like 5 years at that point, which is bonkers. Um, and I could walk in confidently and say, show some ID and say I'm 18 and go and buy some beer. And it changed my life, really. It really did. It sounds terrible, like going to the pub changed my life. It just gave me a bit more freedom, turning 18, that much responsibility. So it wasn't just about the alcohol, obviously, but being at college, having new friends, reinventing myself as well, I suppose. And then the alcohol thing on top of that was just a different way of socialising. And I think for me, because I've never, especially all the stuff I'm going through at the moment with my brain, I think I've always been more uptight than I expected I was. So when I get into that freedom mode, I'm fully free. And alcohol was, for me, a quick way of getting into that mode and getting into that mindset of like letting my anxiety die away. So when I did drink alcohol, it's still the same now. It doesn't take that much for me to get into that relaxed mode. And I can get that if I can get into that way. It's not like I need alcohol to relax. That's not what I'm trying to say. If you ask any of my friends, there's been many, 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 many nights out in recent years where I've been the only sober one because I've been working and my job's safety critical, so I can't drink. And I'm the one that people think's drunk, which says something about me, I think. Yeah, I just think that alcohol just used to relax me a little bit, and I think it does. It is a bit of a relaxant, but it used to be a good way to do it easier. I would say less forced, and I liked that when I was younger. I did enjoy that, and I think it's only looking back now that I realise how much I used it for that, and for creativity. Because once your mind's relaxed, you do more. So when I was drinking regularly, even when I lived alone, if I was going on a night out, I'd come back and write songs and stuff. I would sit and play my guitar and do voice notes and stuff, which I rarely do now. And I'm not saying it's because of the alcohol. I think it's just because life gets in the way a little bit, and I have to make time for that. And my priorities have changed a little bit. And I do need to return to that, but without the alcohol. So I need to find something else that relaxes me to get me into that mindset. Anyway, so when I was at college, I drank a lot. It probably didn't help that I had a job, quite a well-paid job on the railway. And even though I was safety critical, like I would go out when I wasn't working, even during the week, and because it's probably easier during the week because I worked most weekends. So I used to go out most nights and have a few pints or a few beers or, it was a regular thing. Like just even if you went around your mate's house, you cracked open a beer. Like I turned my room into my mum and dad's house when I lived at home. I asked them, they went away on holiday, I think when I was like 16, 17, and I said, can I like basically decorate my room? So I turned it into like my own little apartment area. I got rid of my bed and had a bed settee because I wanted somewhere to sit, with my mates, and then it could turn into a bed afterwards. And I built my own wardrobes, or at least a frame of wardrobes, so I could like have more space because the wardrobes I had were massive, and just really changed it all around and laid like fake looking laminate flooring. So yeah, I turned my room into a little thing, and I had a little fridge in there, and I always had beers in there, and I've always loved, when I got into alcohol, I've always loved cocktails, and if I remember, we'll come back to that. But I had loads of spirits, like there were a ridiculous amount of like spirits and stuff on my shelves. I think as a parent, like I'd have probably worried about my own child if they were doing that, but I've always been like Mr. Sensible, so I think there was an element of trust there, even though I could be a bit of a wild one with the alcohol, but I could also withstand it. So probably because I drank so much, to be honest. And I'm not boasting about that; it's not a clever thing to do. But your body gets used to stuff, doesn't it? Like it's like if you are an alcoholic, your threshold for drinking a bottle of whiskey, which would probably put most people in a coma, is you have a tolerance for it. So a quarter of a bottle probably only starts getting you where you need to go, whereas most people drink a quarter bottle of a whiskey are probably pretty drunk. So there's levels to everything. So 2 years at college, or sixth form, as it was for me, Just the same thing. I hammered the alcohol intake. Many nights out, many drunken nights. I never get into trouble when I'm drunk though. Never have a fight. I get started on, but I never really have a fight. Never really been completely incapacitated through alcohol, which is a good thing. There was only one time, and I think I've spoke about this, is when it was my 19th birthday and I'd got rejected from the army. It was like the night out of my 19th birthday. I think it had been my birthday either the day before. I can't remember. I suppose I could look at a calendar and find this out. I can't remember if I was due to be 19 or I'd already turned 19 and this was the night we were going out, which was either a Friday or a Saturday. I think it was a Saturday night. And I'd got a rejection letter from the army saying I'd not got in. And that was it for me. I was like, well, I was already going out to get pretty drunk because it's my birthday, but now I'm going to go out and get absolutely shit-faced. And I did. And that is the most drunk I've ever been, and I have never been into that state again, because I was reckless that night. And how I didn't end in something worse, I don't know. I just have really good friends, I think. At that night, my friends looked after me, and yeah, it was a bad time for all. I proposed to the girl I was with at the time. Sorry, Bryony. She said no, rightly so. I was trying to climb on top of a bridge to jump in the river, which would have been super dangerous because I could hardly walk, and I don't swim very well. There's a story in that, which I'll probably do a podcast at some point. Yeah, so it was just a bad time all around, and my brother had to come and get me, and then my dad was waiting up for me. And if you need to know the end of that story, check my earlier podcasts because I'm pretty sure I explained that story in it. But yeah, that's probably the only time where I've been really ridiculously drunk. All the other times I've been merry and been able to function and get myself home and stay out of trouble. And I rarely get hangovers as well. This is a really thing. When I was younger, I never got a hangover. Even after that 19th birthday situation, I woke up bright and breezy the next morning, came downstairs, made a massive bowl. Well, poured a massive bowl of cornflakes out, sat and ate them. And apart from feeling a bit dehydrated, didn't have a headache or anything. Nothing. Just had a dry mouth, basically. Yeah, bizarre. Being older, I think I suffer more from the dehydration and tiredness more than anything. But alcohol affects me a little bit differently now anyway. And I'll get into that in a second. But yeah, I discovered cocktails when I was younger, and cocktails were the thing that I used to enjoy. I got into spirits, and I could handle my spirits. Like, beer wasn't where it was at for me. I'd maybe have 4 or 5 pints, maybe, 8 or 9 bottles of Budweiser, because they're not obviously like a pint. Me and Scott used to drink Budweiser. I can hear people groaning now, but we liked it. And then I used to go into spirits, so vodka, Bacardi, anything really. Apart from whiskey, I've never been a massive whiskey lover. And I can't drink Bacardi still, to be honest. And the story behind that is, my brother and his girlfriend were staying at our house. Mum and Dad were on holiday. We'd had a house party, and his girlfriend at the time wanted to share a bottle of Bacardi with me. And I was like, yep, my favourite drink, which weirdly enough was my dad's favourite drink as well when he was in the army, which I never knew. And I just acquired this taste for it and loved it. And apparently he did the same. And everyone used to say, oh, it's a girly drink. He used to drink Bacardi and Coke. And I started drinking it. And that kind of made me good. It made me feel good because my dad said to me one night, oh, do you like Bacardi and Coke? That's my drink. And I was like, oh my God, I'm like my dad, because bit of a hero of mine. It sounds pathetic, but he is a bit of a hero. He did the thing I've always wanted to do, is be in the army, which I explain in another episode. So, but we'd bought this massive bottle of Bacardi, and she'd hardly drank any of it. And I'd broken up with my girlfriend not long before, and him and her went upstairs. And let's just say I could hear stuff going on. So I was like, screw this, grabbed the bottle of Bacardi, walked down to the bottom of the garden. We had a massive long garden, took the dog with me, took my guitar, very melancholy, and I was strumming the guitar at like 1 o'clock in the morning, just swigging out of this bottle of Bacardi. Pretty much finished this whole bottle, and it was a big bottle. I was very, very drunk, but like compos mentis to a degree. I just was starving hungry, and we'd had a takeaway early in the evening, I say we had a house party. We just had some mates around. Really, it wasn't really a proper big house party. Just had a few people around, and then they'd gone home. We had takeaways and stuff. So I went back into the house, and I'd had a chicken chow mein, and all the grease and stuff was at the bottom of the tray. And you know what I'm going to say, it smelled delicious when I was leathered. So I drank it all up and went to bed. And went out like a light and dreamt that I'd gone to the toilet and fell over and smashed all the stuff up in my bedroom and then got back into bed. Semi thought I'd been sick in my dream, but couldn't really remember. And when I woke up in the morning, I was naked apart from wearing some underwear, no bedclothes on my bed, nothing on my shelves at all. Like, the shelves were pretty much empty. And I was like, what the hell? And my brother came in, basically said, like, last night you got out of bed, threw up everywhere, fell over, knocked your lava lamp off, because I had a lava lamp, because obviously I was a kid. You get them when you're younger. They're cool though, aren't they? And I'd smashed the lava lamp, and apparently it was rolling around in the glass. So he had to get me in the bathroom and then sort me out and clean me up and took everything downstairs and tidied up everything. And so I was probably a little bit more out of control than I thought. But I got to bed, but that could have been a bad time. Maybe I'm worse with alcohol than I thought. Swear they're the only two occasions. But I can't drink Bacardi to this day. It's literally put me off Bacardi. And Bacardi was my drink, so I went on to rum from then. But speaking of Bacardi, I was introduced to this drink, and I definitely don't condone this, because this is super dangerous, and especially if you're not used to drinking. This shows kind of probably what a borderline alcoholic I was. Me and my mate Stuart, it was Stuart's fault, he got me into this, and I couldn't do it now. The thought of it actually makes me feel a little bit queasy. As we used to go to a pub in Nantwich, which is a town near where I live, and we used to order, to start the night off, we'd maybe had a beer at the house or a beer before leaving home, but to start the night off, we used to order a double vodka and a double Bacardi in the same glass, straight. And we'd sometimes have two of them each, so that's 8 shots. I'll just let that sink in. And I remember ordering that one night in that bar, and the girl was like, "What's the mix?" And I was like, "No." She brought them all separate, like two vodkas and 2 Bacardis, and I was like, "No, they need to be in the same glass." And she was like, "What are you gonna mix it with?" I was like, "Nothing." So, and she watched us do them, and she was like, "I'm terrified of that. That's ridiculous." And in hindsight, yes, it was. As an 18, 19-year-old, 20-year-old, it was fine. We were just like, this is how we start the night, what you want about. And we never really got ill from that. We never really got overly drunk, but it just got you to a level instantly, pretty much. And then you could just keep it topped up with the odd beer or the odd rum or whatever you were drinking. But yeah, definitely don't try that, really. It's a recipe for disaster. Plus, nowadays, it would cost you a frigging fortune. God knows what 8 shots in a pub costs now. Probably $150 a shot, maybe. I don't know. I haven't got any frame of reference. I'm old now. Back in the day, I think they were doing I think it was like £1 for a double or something like that. So it cost us like £4 a drink. Well, £4 for 2 drinks, which is cheap, really, isn't it? Yeah, don't do that. And it doesn't taste nice. As you can imagine, obviously, it's Bacardi and vodka, just completely straight. It's disgusting. It's like rocket fuel. In fact, if there was a name for it, that's probably what it should be, because that's what it was like. And yeah, we used to start the night like that, but I couldn't even imagine doing that now. But anyway, I got into cocktails, and that was the thing that I got into, and I loved making cocktails. I had all the stuff on my shelf, as I've said, and my mates used to come around. I was really good at it, to be honest. I was really good at getting really, really good balance. The fact that what you were drinking was super alcoholic, but you didn't know. So maybe I had a talent now, I don't know. I've always liked cooking and stuff like that, so maybe I had a talent for mixology of cocktails. But yeah, just over the years, I think when you get more responsible, when I moved in, I think probably moving into my own house, the first couple of years, I used to have a party probably every weekend I was off. But the drinking reduced, obviously, in between time, because I was a safety critical member of the railway. So weekends, a couple of nights of alcohol, and then probably wouldn't drink most of the time. Maybe go out the odd time on my days off. But it got less and less and less, because obviously got a full-time job now, got to manage a house, people going off to university, and I think from the age my main drinking was probably from the age of like 18 to 25, 26, and after that, it's just slowly declined. To the point where nowadays, if I go to the pub, I may not even drink at all. Or I may have one beer, maybe a half, which is terrible. Like, I can feel people laughing at me. But I don't mind. I've always been the sort of person that doesn't need. I just need sugar, basically, a bit of caffeine, maybe a bit of sugar. But I've never need like alcohol. But I think, as I said in the beginning, what I liked about the alcohol was because it relaxed you immediately, and it's a social thing. And you always get these stories, don't you, from alcohol? And I think that's where I've come to do this podcast today, is because we were talking about with some people from work, and we went round to a friend's house last night, and we were chatting about going out and etc. and getting drunk, and we were saying how much money it is now, but it's the stories you get from going out, and that's what binds people together. So if I get together with my mates, a drunken story will come up at some point, and you kind of wear them as a badge of honour, but it's just obviously not something to be promoted. But we just did it, didn't we? Everyone kind of goes through that like rite of passage to have that one evening of blind drunkenness. And if you don't drink, that's fine. But if you do drink, then it's just what you do when you're growing up, I think. And some take to it more than others. But yeah, I just don't do it anymore. And I think alcohol affects me a bit more now as well. I think my stomach can't take the beer. I feel like I'm sensitive to it. Spirits is fine. I've always been able to drink spirits, like vodka and stuff like that. I love rum, so rum is my thing now, really. So if I go out somewhere, I'll have a straight rum as well. If it's nice rum, I'll just drink it on the rocks. On the rocks with ice. I don't know why I said on the rocks. I don't think I've said that at all anywhere in a pub. But yeah, I just don't do it anymore. It's just bizarre. It's somewhat weird, the fact that how you change when you mature and you get older. Because there's people I know still now that are like 10 years older than me that will go out every single weekend and still live that 19, 20-year-old lifestyle, which is for me completely alien now. But going back to where I started controlling my drinking to a more sensible level, let's say. To a more of like, we're going to go out and have a good time, get drunk, rather than let's go drinking for the sake of drinking, because that's kind of what it was getting to. And it was probably after when I had that massive blow when I was 19, and I was probably about 19 and a half, and we'd been on a night out the night before, maybe the Friday and the Saturday, and I'd got like the whole weekend off, and I got up I wanted to go drinking on the Sunday, I think, for the rugby or something like that. And I'd had a bit of a lie-in, and I had a shot of vodka with my cornflakes. Because I wanted to. I'm an adult. I'm going to go out in a bit. I'm lying on my stomach, and in a couple of hours I'll be in the pub, because it opens at midday, and I'm going to have a shot of vodka. And I had the shot of vodka, and I don't know whether my mum saw me do it. I think she had her suspicions. But I went out, and then one of my mates said to me, because we went out and watched something. I think we went to a house party, so it may have been even a Saturday, and I got very, very drunk at the house party, but not easily. I took a bottle of vodka and a whole pack of beer, and I drank the lot and was happy but not drunk. And then I was drinking other people's stuff that they took, and one of my friends was like, "You're not that drunk, and it's a bit scary." And I was compass mentis enough to realise, like, you know, you're quite right. This is wrong. So I just took a step back a little bit and just didn't drink as much and didn't go out as regularly, and used it as a kind of a warning sign. So I don't think I was actually technically an alcoholic, because I wasn't dependent on it. But the fact I could do a shot of vodka at like 10 o'clock in the morning was probably not a good sign. But from that point on, then alcohol became a social thing, and it wasn't used as like a tool to make me happy, because I think partly it was to do that as well. Especially when you're young and you're going through breakups and stuff like that. You know, we miss street stuff and misuse things. Yeah, alcohol is a strange thing. It's a strange invention, and but I can do without it now. And I sound like I'm an absolute alcohol head. Alcohol head? Never said that in my life before. But yeah, it's just one of them things that I just don't do anymore. I'm old. I feel like I'm old now, and I just don't have the necessity. If I go out somewhere, and don't get me wrong, if I'm going out on a night out, I'll drink, but I don't feel the need to. There's not the necessity to. And also, if I go out now, I'd prefer to actually have one good pint and talk to my mates. And that's like a proper old granddad thing to say. But I've been like that for years. Like, I've probably been like that for probably since I was at college, actually. Like, we'd go out for different types of nights out. We'd go out sometimes for quiet nights out where we'd go to a local bar called the Bowling Green. It was like, we'd just sit and have an afternoon drink and chat, and there was no rush or no emphasis on getting drunk. And then other times we'd go out with the intention to be drunk. So things just shift, don't they? You know, I don't know where I was going with this, really. I think I just wanted to say that, in summary, I didn't start drinking until I was probably the legal age, really. It became a bit of a... I don't think I got numb to alcohol. And then I just think I used it a little bit to open up myself from the anxiety that I didn't realise I was feeling. And now I don't really drink because I'm older, wiser, and it gives me stomachache. And plus, I never seem to want to go out, let's face it, and it's too expensive. So, yeah, there's your summary for you. I'm an old fart, it's too expensive, and I don't have any friends. Happy days. Thank you very much for listening, everyone. Let me know what your experiences are with alcohol. If you go out, do you do it to get drunk? Do you do it to relax? Is it just because it's a social thing? Is it just because it's expected? As I've said, I've never really felt expected to drink. It's just I have done. I don't know. Yeah, reach out on social media and let me know. Let me know what you have done in your past. And when you get together with your friends, are most of the stories about drunken, adventures with your mates, or do you just talk about adulty things, or does it always come back to drunken stories? Because it seems to be what happens to me and my mates a lot of the time. Because we like to reminisce, don't we? As a species, we love to reminisce about good old fun times. And I think when a lot of them come from your child, a lot of them come from that era, you're probably 99% going to be drunk. If my experience is anything to go by, I sound like an absolute alcoholic, but I wasn't. Trust me. Thank you for listening. And remember, if you do think you've got a problem, there are people to reach out to. So, give a Google if you think you've got an issue, because it's not, there's no embarrassment to admit something like that. In fact, it's quite hard. So, I know I'm not trying to glorify drinking. It can be quite a terrible thing, as well as it can lead to good times. So I'll leave you with that serious note, and don't forget to check out my website, stephenspeak.com, where you can check out the blog. Hopefully there's a new one dropping very shortly about travelling to Ireland on the ferries, and a little blog about that. And yeah, if you go on the website as well, you can check out how to do a podcast, and probably do it better than me, and the equipment that I use. So yeah, take care of yourselves, and I'll speak to you soon. You've been listening to Stephen Speak the podcast. Thanks for listening to my unscripted prattle on everything and nothing. Visit stephenspeak.com for updates, information, and my blog. You can follow more updates on social media at StephenSpeakPC. Thanks very much, and I'll speak to you soon.